A multi-million-dollar makeover plan for the heart of Rockford and downtown goes on the back burner again. Concerns lead Rockford leaders to delay a key vote on the project. It's been nearly a decade since the city of Rockford announced plans to renovate Davis Park. WIFR's Nathaniel Langley learns why the community will have to wait a little bit longer.
Rockford City Council members agree. Davis Park is underutilized, but the project's price tag and plans draws concerns from some.
It's a long time coming, and we look forward to being able to have this project advanced.
It's been 9 years since the city of Rockford proposed a facelift of Davis Park.
We're committed to the project, and getting phase 1 site improvements moving forward will be absolutely great.
City staff recommended a $7.6 million contract for Stenstrom excavation to start the project.
I think we'd be better served if we lay it over and get more information and look at the thing holistically.
At Rockford's Finance and Personnel Committee, members approved that delay.
We need to look and see what do we need, what do we want, and then what can we afford.
The project's first phase would improve the park grounds, adding a playground, skate park, and paths.
The phased approach is important when you talk about lining up the capital stack.
About $4 million in state grants would cover the estimated $11 million renovation.
It just goes to show, I think, the need for this, but also the buy-in from the community.
When we think about the opportunity cost of just letting this slip by, the old joke in Rockford is that we do that too much.
Until a contract is awarded, Davis Park remains a stomping ground for geese.
We're kind of at those final stages of planning to make sure that we can get this across the finish line.
The initial concepts for Davis Park were split between focusing on concerts, festivals, or the riverfront. Cagnoni says each of those will be incorporated into Davis Park's final construction.
Thank you, Nathaniel. And since the contract vote was laid over, it may not reappear until the next Finance and Personnel Committee. That's scheduled for July 28th. City staff has a goal of completing the first phase of construction before next year's Ironman.